Hello, 8th grade science students. Today the plan is to talk to you a little bit about isotopes. And there are a couple definitions of isotopes that we can talk about. One is kind of the long form. It says each of two or more forms of the same element that contains equal numbers of protons but different numbers of neutrons in their nuclei, and hence differ in relative atomic mass but not in chemical properties, in particular a radioactive form of an element. So that's very complicated. That's the one that'll pop up if you try to Google it. I like the simplified version for us, which is it's a form of an element with a specific number of neutrons. So that means that it's an atom, and elements are defined by the number of protons they have, which means they can have different numbers of neutrons. And if it has if they have different numbers, then it is a specific isotope. Let's use carbon as an example. So carbon 12, and that's how you would kind of call it out loud, has 6 protons and 6 neutrons. And the way we write that is the number of protons goes at the bottom, the mass number, or the protons and neutrons together, goes at the top, and then the element symbol goes next to that. So 12,6C is carbon 12. And that's the name we would give that. 14,6C is carbon 14, which has 8 neutrons instead of 6 neutrons. That makes them different isotopes. They have different numbers of neutrons. Finally, a little bit more complicated example. So in the definition we got from Google, it talked about some isotopes are radioactive. Not all isotopes are radioactive. Carbon 14 back here is a little bit radioactive, which is why we can use it for carbon dating. We'll talk more about that maybe when we return. But uranium-238 has 92 protons, 238 protons and neutrons together. That's the mass number with a U. So that one's called uranium-238. 235-92 uranium is uranium-235. I'd like you to briefly pause the video and see if you can figure out how many neutrons each of those has. If you finished pausing, that's great. Uranium-238, if you take 238 and subtract 92, you get 146 neutrons. And if you take 235 and subtract 92, you get 143 neutrons. So I think it's relatively straightforward, but it does take some practice. I'm going to post this video along with a worksheet that you can either answer the questions on a separate piece of paper or you can print and answer on the worksheet. Please stay safe and healthy out there, and good luck on the isotope assignment.